We'll call the meeting to order at 4:31. And there's been a request that we should all introduce ourselves, so I think we should probably start there. Why don't you go ahead?
Hi, I'm Julia Cosentino. I'm Vice Chair of the Commissioners.
Andrew Hopton, Secretary.
Dan Burns, I'm the chair.
I'm Diane Ryan. I'm just here. I'm acting treasurer collector who finds herself at this table once again.
Supporting us.
Yes.
Yes, Needham has been trying to make you our treasurer for the ever since Evie from this retired.
Well, I've been filling in quite a few times, but anywho, happy to be here with you.
Okay, why don't we start with the
I think maybe Maureen would maybe first, just to find out exactly what her, thoughts were as to why she's approaching, and then we can see if we have an answer for her or possibly have to get back to you. But go ahead.
Are there copies of the agenda to pass around or to display on a board somewhere?
I'm happy to make you one, Patricia.
Oh,
Okay.
please, no, don't get out of that.
No,
chair.
no
Oh,
worries.
Stop it, Diane.
No worries.
No need, if you just say kind of what order we're doing.
Yeah, it's just, we're gonna meet with Maureen first, and then
Okay.
we're gonna have a discussion with DVAC, and then we're gonna move on to the other business of approving the minutes and approving payments, and then any not reasonably anticipated discussions before the 48-hour notice.
Oh, super. I think the
So
only
let's-
thing, we also want to figure out how to have access to the binders. So that's fine.
Okay. We've actually, just for the rep, no one has ever really asked about having the binder before. I don't know if you had that during your time on
We
the.
used to bring them all the time and they would be right there and we'd be looking through them and anyone in the public could look through.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't know if they disappeared when Evie retired.
No, they haven't
So they-
disappeared.
They haven't disappeared, so we've scanned them. That was a kind of a big undertaking.
Yes.
The next step there will be if we could actually scan them in a way that we can search them.
Yeah.
That would be an even bigger project. We're not there yet. But that's why I have my laptop here, not to be rude. So we certainly can. I could sign into the Zoom. I could put one up on the screen. I do have some concerns with some of them, that there may be information in there that we've talked about how public is that information per se, and a lot of in those binders there are a lot of canceled checks, and there are other things where there's some question, or maybe social security numbers. There's some information that I wouldn't want to just post on a public website, despite the transparency that I think we should have. So still don't have good guidance on exactly what to do with that information, but we're getting there.
Maybe the town manager can help hire someone part-time, whether it's a high school student who could do that or, someone who could help that project move forward. It would certainly make it helpful to have access to the public.
Great. So on the topic of Needham Community Council,
Yes.
please.
Hi, I'm Maureen Callahan. I'm the Director of Development and Public Relations for the council. I've been there for a little over a year now, and as you know, we're a nonprofit. We're separate, completely separate from the town, and so we do get all of our funding from individual donors or by writing grants. So it just came to my attention that maybe this would be something to explore, and that there might possibly be. I'm questioning how that we might submit a proposal, or if there's even funding that would be appropriate for us to try to access. We do, everybody knows Aspire Food Pantry, but we have a lot of programs. We have an English language learning program, a medical transportation program. We just started a dementia care partners support program too. So there's a number of things that we do. And again, it's all privately funded. So we're always just sort of checking out different funding sources so that we can sort of maintain these programs or possibly expand them. This year in particular, we've had just a big increase in need for food pantries. So as we're seeing those expenses accumulate, it's just something that I thought would be worth a conversation. I don't know how this works, so I'm kind of just here looking, I guess, to access information and see how the process even works. I don't know if there's anything else for me to, questions for me or
Got it.
about what we do. I have information if anybody's interested in that.
I am interested.
Okay.
I mean, typically the way we work is that, is that one of the trusts that we oversee will make a disbursement request. And then our job is to say, you know, is it in line with the purpose of the trust? So I don't have necessarily an encyclopedic knowledge of every single trust, what its purpose, what there may be. It's something that we've talked about as a group, that we need to have some kind of an index, better index than what we have for those trusts. A large chunk of them are scholarships, and for those scholarships, the school department that kind of knows exactly, it has a spreadsheet of this one's for a math student or this one's for this student or
Right.
what have you, but we don't have that overall. But that said, in my memory, and truly I'm just going on memory, I've not heard of one that I can think of top of my head that would be a fit per se, but I think it's a worthwhile exercise for us to kind of, like, maybe this is the catalyst for us to actually go and put together that kind of index.
Yeah, I mean, all of our programs are NEET only. We're pretty, firm on just that. The only program we have that's open to people, there's one that's open to people who both live at work in Needham. For instance, our English language learner program is open to people who are working within the town. And in fact, we have a program that we have with DPW. So there's a class that's actually offered on site so that workers in that department can actually get instruction during work hours, making it convenient. So it's something we sort of try to partner with the town and meet the needs when we can. So, but just to know that the funds are used for residents.
Got it. And it's kind of an indirect petition. So for example, a lot of our trusts relate to the libraries, support the library. So it's not like us saying, hey, let's support the library. It's the library coming to us and saying, we've just made these purchases. We believe that this is an appropriate use of funds for this trust. You approve it. So that's really more the process. So if there is a trust that would be appropriate to support Needham Community Council, it would be more us making an introduction between whoever's in charge of making those disbursement requests and you, and saying you should talk to each other.
Yeah,
This might be a great use of these funds.
So, but first, they need access to the binders, which you have now scanned. So what is the process for a person from Needham
Mhm.
to come and look through those scanned documents?
I have a question though. So I'm relatively new on the commission. Andrew's our newest, I'm the second newest. And even though the trusts that we're talking about are clearly for the public in some way, I'm not 100% sure that the trusts themselves, like every word of them, is a matter of public record. I'm not disputing that they are or aren't. I'm just saying for myself as a commissioner, I don't know for sure that the entire content of a trust is a matter of public.
I hear that you want to redact specific private information. So I don't know how many years these have not been available, but it would seem to me a high priority of the group to take that private information out of there and to have a public record.
I absolutely, may I just continue?
Please, yes.
I understand the importance as you're describing it. I'm just saying for myself, I feel like I need, if I were part of the decision about how much to release, I would want to be sure that that was something that we had the authority to do.
Right, so you would
Or
want town council
yes,
to weigh in,
or
sure.
perhaps we are to provide a digest or some other form that isn't, again, every word or piece of information in the record.
Right, but, if you need legal counsel, what is your timeline for that to happen, for them to become available?
When it comes to legal counsel, it could take, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, maybe, is it all right if
Please,
I
yeah.
speak? First of all, Patricia, there hasn't been a tremendous, like, I don't think, increase in the newer, in new trust funds, probably since you left. Naturally, the fund itself, continues to grow. But perhaps, is there one that you think from the past that you think may have been appropriate for the community council? Just out
Well,
of.
yes, but here we are in a crazy negotiation about how to help organizations who are community oriented in Needham to have access to
Yeah, and no,
the
and
ability
certainly
to
they're
send a
not, we're
proposal,
not,
right?
no one is
So
saying.
I'm not trying to impose a process anywhere. I'm just saying, come on. There needs to be something.
I'd like to
people can access.
recharacterize it a little bit, like, I don't see us as having a negotiation here, I think we're all trying to figure out like how best to come to this.
Terrific.
And it's, clearly you've identified for us something that's a bit of a blind spot. But I don't want to make a promise I can't make, but, I don't, what would be the interaction with town council? Would it be,
I
maybe
think
we
we're
can
just gonna
discuss
have
this
to
later,
ask-
we
yes.
ask the person offline, or have the person attend our next meeting, or, I'm not sure exactly what the next step should be.
Right, we can certainly find out, what that is. As you know, Patricia, I have not been always, this has not been my role, so you're looking at, you've got, two newer people, and I can't recall how many years that you
I
served.
consider myself a newer person.
And you still are, exactly, so you kind of got some, it's just, it's not something that I know has come up. And, when you were on the committee, I don't really know how it all worked, so we're not trying to withhold information. It's just, I didn't know if in particular there was one. Because as you know, most of them are scholarships, and then we have like the NCRTF, the Needham Community Revitalization. Now that's that person, the chair of that, he advocates for money, then we get the money in, and then that money, goes toward like the banners that you see,
Mhm.
banners and benches, but he's out there soliciting basically like money to put into the trust fund so that he can like pay those expenses. Then, as Dan was saying, we have the library permanent donation fund. That again, you've got money going into that, which then is utilized for the purchase of books and certain things like that. So, and the other stuff is a lot of scholarships. So that's where I think this is, it almost sounds like, in my opinion, which I'm not sure, but it almost sounds like maybe you're looking to establish a trust fund. So that, and do that kind of requesting of money, but perhaps you've already got that, donation part going on at the community council. So you don't want to like, I don't know, take away from what people are already donating to the organization, because it's almost like splitting it in my way of thinking.
Right.
Like you're asking people to donate to the community council, but then you'd also be asking people to donate.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not hearing that this is a request to set up a trust fund. So you have a well-established kind of process of donation and presumably managing that.
Right, so that's why, and that's the only, I'm just asking to pick your brain, Patricia, as far as if you thought there was a particular fund out there that is already in existence that you thought might be appropriate. we can at least start with that.
Diane Ryan, I understand this is your first meeting as Commissioner of Customs. So I served from 2008 to 2011. Was elected specifically around the time of the tercentennial in order to grow the fund.
Yes.
So I'm guessing it's maybe 7 million at this point,
Or like
More
10.
10.
10 million.
Yeah.
And you're required to disperse 5% to keep a foundation status. So that would be 500,000 a year. Right,
These are not-
legally.
Private foundations, though. I think
So-
that,
Well, that's okay. So I don't know if
Hang
you
on, Julie,
would
did you
be,
have something to add there?
well, just, the element, what Diane's, supported us in a number of these meetings. I think maybe I wasn't clear enough in describing the push-pull that I'm feeling right now. And that is, I understand what you're saying. I understand that it would be helpful to the council to have access to the information that's within the binder. But I'm also thinking about when a donor establishes a fund, do they have any expectation whatsoever of privacy in the record itself? So I'm not disputing the council or the public nature of what we do here. I'm just also thinking about the donor. And I want to be sure for us that we're not violating any expectation of privacy that may exist within the law or the rules. And so it's a matter of just trying to get an answer to what we can release and what we can't, so that we're considering all sides here.
right, so you might want to create a written policy for how to make proposals to COTF. And Diane, you may want to pick Evie's brain if she's still alive. I haven't been in touch with her since her retirement. But in terms of people looking at the binders, we used to have them right here open at all of our meetings. So I'm trying to figure out what happened. Did they disappear?
As I
And
said
if
it
those were
before,
open
excuse
at
me
the
just one
meeting-
second, I said before, I have access to all of the trust funds right here, and I'd be happy to put any particular one up on the screen and share it if it's relevant.
Well, without my looking through the list, I can, for example, off the top of my head, easily pull and say, oh, check out the Tolman Trust. That's an entertaining one. But in other words, there are loads of them that are not scholarships and not library. And for a wide variety of events and processes that in fact are often aligned with all kinds of community goals. And if you haven't made clear what is the process for applying and how people can look and match that up, then you're kind of functioning as a smoke-filled room without matching a spirit of public transparency and inquiry and ability to write proposals for the funds.
Patricia, it seems like you're focusing on me and I.
No, no,
and
no,
I'm
no,
not a-
you're an
and I'm not
acting
a
treasurer. I
commissioner.
know we have had
So
trouble
I just
getting a
don't want you
treasurer
to-
meeting. Diane, please, I've worked with you for like, I don't know, 15 years at this point, and I am so sorry for the position you're in. And I hope the search committee finds somebody who will take all this burden off of your shoulders.
Not
because
worried about it,
it's way
Patricia,
too much
but
for
I
you
mean, we
as an
just,
individual.
I mean, I've been with the town for going on 28 years. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. But
I've only
anyway,
been here 41 years, and please, we're just trying to get some really
yeah, so
basic
we can just,
processes in
I think
place.
as we,
I don't.
yeah,
I
new
think-
committee,
right.
we just need
I think
to,
the characterization of a sort of a smoke-filled room, I certainly don't think that way about it. You've raised some interesting points and comments, and the nature of your request, which is more asking for an overall summary of what all of these trusts are. That's something we should have, and it's kind of exposed that weakness here. So I think the best we can probably do for right now is to commit to working on that. And all right. And we we'll also pursue kind of asking town council, to address Julia's concerns about, privacy expectations and kind of applicable law and applicable rules.
I mean, because you could just put a number on the trust and say, this is a trust, and the person, if you want, at the time of the bequest, you can say, do you want this publicly identified with you, or do you prefer to remain anonymous in terms of public outreach? I mean, there are 1,000 ways to say the trust number one, and you can set them chronologically if you like. I'm happy to work with the lawyer. I'm happy to volunteer my time to organize them. None of them are secret for me. So
I think
if that's what you need,
at least for myself, all I'm asking is just some margin to be able to ask the questions. You've helped in identifying the questions for us and questions that we don't yet have the answers to. And once we're able to ask the questions and get a complete answer, I think we can then respond with detail. Versus right now, I feel like I'm just absorbing the questions so that I can know what to ask.
That's a question about, I know there are scholarships and I know you mentioned library, I think there's some for park and rec. So say there's something for park and recreation, did they know what the amount is, what they have, what they can and what they cannot request for? Like, is there criteria that they're aware of, or how does that even work when something's specifically for a department or, like a department?
Well, I mean, whoever's responsible for making those disbursements presumably has this trust document and is a party to the trust document.
And they would reach out to that department and they would talk about what the funds are available for, and do they then have to make it, I'm just talking about process, like do they then apply? Does the Park and Rec say, oh, okay, it seems like there's something that is surrounding open space, and here's something that maybe we want to acquire. Could we use the funds for that purpose or something like that?
So if you're talking about, may I just give
Please,
some
yeah.
thoughts? So if you're just talking about a particular fund and where there is a beneficiary of those assets, if you will. What someone would know would be the value, the market value, more or less, of the fund. And what the spending rule is that's applied to the fund, meaning how much each year, more or less, is available for allocation. And so within what that amount is, then the beneficiary could apply or plan for expenditures for that amount. It isn't the whole fund.
Right.
It's what the spending rule, and they can vary from fund to fund, may be for that particular fund.
So they're aware, whoever is in the department, it is sort of specifically allocated for.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this topic? Otherwise, I'm ready to move on to the DVAC group.
okay,
No. I think
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. Just thinking.
yeah, I'm saying,
So letters dated today. So this is a disbursement request. And if memory serves, this is kind of an interesting trust that is outside, just by its nature, is outside of our process. And this is in part for your benefit. So the usual process is someone gives a disbursement request, we make a judgment, is it within the trust or not? DVAC by their nature, a lot of their spending is very time sensitive
Okay,
because it's supporting things to do with domestic violence.
yeah.
Sometimes involves a very real-time need. And so the way this particular trust works is they'll make a disbursement in advance for that type of spending for the year,
Makes sense.
which makes sense. Do we have the balance in the trust? I'm sorry, anything else?
So are we now approving like future disbursements? Is that what
It's
that's
not
saying?
future disbursements, we're approving an annual in advance disbursement,
Okay, I
to
think that's what I
be
meant to say.
used, yeah, I mean, would one of you like to give just like a, while Julia's looking, just kind of a quick refresher on the nature of that spending?
Sure, so I can introduce myself again. I'm Laura Duff. I'm one of the public health nurses in Needham and one of the co-chairs of the DBAC committee. And I'm joined by,
I'm Deb Jacob, I'm the committee and a resident.
Kathy Wong, also a member of the committee, and a resident. He's the two of us have been in Needham well over 25 years.
But we're newbies compared to,
Yeah.
so thank you for having us.
I've been over 30.
I apologize for the late letter over the weekend, but per the, what was discussed in the January meeting, we did include in the letter the way we had been spending our, or said last fiscal year funds.
Mhm.
So you can see that detailed
Mhm.
there. And we are requesting an amount this year that has been adjusted for inflation since the last time we had an amount. I'm happy to talk more about it.
But last year you guys spent more than what you're now requesting for the coming year? Is that right?
No, for the last 2 fiscal years, the amount dispersed was $8,100. And so our request this year is just that same amount, but adjusted for inflation. So we are requesting,
His question is, I think it looks like you spent 10,500, but you
Oh.
must have, I
We,
assume that means you had a balance
We received donations.
or received donations.
part of it is we receive donations, but also part of it is, the trust fund disbursements had been in the arrears for
Right.
a few years, so we had
Right,
to build
there was a
up.
catch up, I
Yes,
remember.
and we wanted to show how we've been able to spend some of
Yeah.
that.
And
Right.
just looking at the line,
Mhm.
in June, I think it was, the balance is 502,000.
The
That's
balance where?
630.
Trust.
That's the market value.
Yeah, well, it says domestic violence student. Is that different than what you were?
502.
I never knew how much was in the trust.
Well, this is news to us.
I didn't know, I know how much the original amount was, but I have no idea what it is now.
Do you
Um,
remember what was the original? I'm just curious.
You referenced my letter, I believe it was 200. Originally, it was 200,
And that was circa what year?
2004.
Okay.
Two thousand four, you said.
The letter establishing the trust was written September 7th, 2004, so that's and it specifies amount of 200,000, so that's all the information.
Mhm.
No, that's
And
fine.
amount.
Just for me, it's more historic information.
Right, yes.
So the amount requested, 8,550, is about 1.7% of the balance. Julia, that you just gave us. So then, again, this isn't really one of the more traditional funds where we would have a recommendation of, 4% per year type of disbursement. And in fact, it would probably be not in your interest to take it since this money is invested, right? And in theory, you could ask for more.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Okay. Am I understanding correctly that for you often, for many trusts, you often recommend a 4% a year disbursement, but we're asking for less than that just because of what was specified in the
Right.
trust document?
So 4% is kind of academically an amount that if you withdraw that every year and you have the type of investment program we have, that your investment base should be perpetual. Because, the point of these funds is not necessarily to have them grow to infinity. They're like Or if you wanted to have a different spending rule, which some people have requested, you could spend more than 4% here and you could spend it down. So, I'm just looking at this and seeing, you had mentioned that it's an inflation adjustment from the last disbursement. It's 1.7% of your balance, but it seems to me that this isn't unique enough, like there's not really a reason you would necessarily want to take more than you're planning on spending. Because otherwise you just are taking cash out of an investment account that's working for you.
We're
So-
frugal.
Yeah,
So
But
what
I
do-
think
yeah.
society's also changing too, so I think I think in the last few years, we have been a much more voracious organization,
Mhm.
and the success of our organization has had one of those opposite things where we need more money. Because people are coming to us finally, survivors are coming and making requests.
That's good.
And we're going out into the
Good and
community more.
bad, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, exactly. We hope someday that we would never need the trust, but I don't think realistically that's gonna happen. So, but as our committee has grown and done more and more, that could change in the future, but right now, this is what we're doing. We seem to be doing okay with it, and hopefully
Right.
we'll continue to.
our committee had voted on this request, so we're not looking for
I understand.
addition. We typically like to have the adjustment for inflation to ensure that the money that we spend is at the same value of what it was last time the inflation was added in, which was 2023, I believe.
It was 23, was the last time we calculated.
Calculated,
that.
yeah.
If you end up spending the money, quickly, do you just come back to us and ask for more? Is that how it works?
We've been pacing ourselves, so we have not.
We haven't
We
done
did-
that traditionally.
We have not done that traditionally, exactly. If we had a specific program with that need, we would then come back and ask, but at this point, we are looking to spend more money on educating the community. We're in the process of potentially spending several $1,000s on a training program to help parents talk to their children about relationship with children's understanding of positive relationships, so that they grow up not in jeopardy of being in relationships where they may be a domestic violence survivor. So we're looking into those kind of things that will be beneficial for our community. But we've been managing our expenses with what we have available and what we ask for annually.
And traditionally, I've been on DVAC for a long time. I can't even tell you. But at any rate, actually a long time. The way I recall it being through various directors of public health and all that was that we were kind of given a disbursement every year and learned to live within whatever that was. And then we weren't given a disbursement for several years. And that was
relied
really
on
tough.
we relied on the donations then.
Right.
Right. So
So we're getting
well,
more solid. I
I'm
think,
glad
in
we
terms
have
of
this
funding.
annual kind of process then. That seems like the right move. And then what I'd also like to do, so I think if no one has any questions or comments, we could approve this disbursement request or
Yeah,
have a
that's
vote
easy.
on just approving the disbursement request, but I'd also just like to go back and read the actual trust document and see what the disbursement process is per the trust document.
We'd love to
Because
know that.
I don't, let's not let the tail wag the dog, like if we should all know what that disbursement rule is. And so, I don't, it's not our intention to like constrain your operation, like if you have things that you can do and you want to do and you should be doing, then let's look at what the disbursement rules are and you should be able to do those things within what's spelled out in the document, but we all have to understand what it says.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Are there additional rules other than the letter? Or is that specific to each?
Additional rules other than the trust document?
Sorry, like, again, the letter, specifying, like, I have the trust letter here. Is there an additional document besides that specifies how the funds are distributed?
I would have to look through the black binders, which are now
Okay.
digitized on my computer.
Okay.
I don't know off the top.
Okay, I have the letter, if that's.
What does it say?
That's helpful. It's pretty clear about the, it's short, but very clear about how the fund.
That's interesting that
So it's a, yeah,
it's like based on a dollar amount instead of a percentage. Because the fund has grown so much, but it's
right.
like, it's in a way, you're limited by a dollar amount.
Which
We do notice
to
that,
ask for the.
Yeah.
I do notice
So
that.
Julie, okay, sure.
I'll go back to it.
I was just gonna add that if you look farther down.
Further down,
Further down in the letter, it does say that, so it's the $5,000 annually adjusted for inflation, but further down, it does say that if there are additional needs that we could come and request, that's how I read it, that we could come and request.
Julie,
So if there was a large event or something.
could you read that second half out loud for us that she's referring to?
The I direct the money section.
Second part where it talks about
Further down.
request in excess of the
The
inflation.
rest
adjustment.
of the money, that part, the rest of the money would remain in the trust until a domestic violence need for a person or project arises that the Board of Health would vote to expend funds on such person or project. The Board of Health would then request approval for the additional funds from the Commissioner of those funds. Is
Okay.
that the
Yeah.
section?
So that, so it reads to me that there's two things, is the annual disbursement, which, as you pointed out, adjusted for inflation is now up to $8,500-ish per year. But then that's a pretty open-ended mandate. For us to be able to disperse as long as it's within that purpose, so that's,
Yeah. You guys
I
want
mean,
more?
we don't tell you how to spend the money, but I think that suggests that you have a pretty big. Endowment sitting here to use, that you're allowed to use under that reading as you see fit. As long
I
as
think the
within
timing for
purpose of
hearing
this
that is
lesson.
perfect, because like I said, I think that the committee, and this is a committee that the town should be really proud of, outside experts in domestic violence, or like Needham is one of the most robust domestic violence action committees within a town. So as we become more aggressive isn't the word I'm looking for, but as we become, which is a very bad word to use actually, but as we become more aware and active, and it allows us to do that. And I think it's kind of interesting for me because at a time, it's a good time to hear that in terms of the committee.
Right.
We will never be excessive. You know, we've been frugal for so many years. It's hard to get that out of your head, and that's fine.
What we will do is we can tell you, if you want this money to be a perpetual endowment, here's a spending rule that we might recommend. Some of our trust documents spell out a spending rule, but if you had, the way I read this, if you had a big project and you wanted to take a withdrawal from this to use on that big project, then you would follow, instead of this kind of in advance annual disbursement process, you do what most of the other trust funds do, which is you would send us a disbursement notice. We want to do X, Y, and Z. We think it's within the purpose of this trust, and please approve it. And
you
usually people send us invoices and we'll pay the invoices.
Well, what if you don't? See, that's what I'm worried about, and I'm not saying that.
In other words, if you hire a vendor to do some particular project, you would send us the invoice and a request to pay the invoice. And that's the more usual.
It sounds like if within the thought process the committee has been going through recently in terms of this one program that we're working on to build understanding of healthy relationships for children, that we don't want to do a one and done. Parents don't want to just get a presentation and then not know what to do afterwards. Like, we can give them some tips about having those conversations with their children, but we want it to be a continuing education process and working with the school committee, the guidance counselors, so that the messages that the Needham children hear about what is a healthy relationship is ongoing, and that our kids grow up into an adults that don't find themselves in a situation where they are a victim of domestic violence, right? And you can take that learning to many other places, right? How not to be bullied, how not to be in a work situation that is unhealthy. So all of that comes together, but it could be a bigger project than we have money for. And it gives us the information that allows us to think about this as a bigger project. And I think that's what Deb is saying. This is a great time to understand how disbursements can happen for us.
So DVAC is a committee under the Board of Health.
Yes.
Okay.
We,
So,
we advise him,
We're in the process of formalizing this, but
Okay.
we will very shortly, hopefully, be an advisory committee to the director of HHS.
okay,
But
okay.
we do sit within the Board of Health.
Because I think that just one additional requirement, if you will, of that letter is that the Board of Health makes the request. So
Mhm.
obviously they will look to their experts, which is DVAC, but you would need to have that box checked, I think, as part of any process.
If we were to come to you with
Yes.
an additional request.
Yes,
through
I
the
think so.
Board of Health. Okay,
And
very
it's
good
not,
to
it's
know.
not it's not by happenstance that a member of the Board of Health is our, is
Yeah,
one of the
I-
co-chairs.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
our history has been the co-chairs have been someone from the Board of Health and somebody from the police department. Because the two of them, those two departments work very closely in supporting the survivors.
So if you could just let us know, maybe send us a letter when that change has officially happened, that would be good for us to know. Before we do anything else, I'll entertain a motion to approve the two disbursements
Second.
requested. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye, okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And, you know, my takeaways here are, you have a lot of flexibility. I assume, but you should tell us that you want this to operate as kind of an endowment in perpetuity, in which case we'd recommend over time, not exceeding 4% per year, but you know, you can kind of think about your spending needs over a 5-year time horizon and what projects are important to you, and that's that. It also sounds like you're accepting donations regularly. People send you money. Does that go like right into an operating account and then spent immediately, or what I'm getting at here is if you've built up some kind of cash outside of these trust funds and you want it invested in the trust funds, then you know, consider putting it in, because then it's working for you. I suspect you don't have lots of cash just floating around.
No,
But
no.
if you were to get a large
No.
donation or something, you
That
should,
is good to know.
I recommend putting it to work.
I think this has been incredibly helpful. Because now we can take it back to the committee and say, look at, you know, if we identify through some of the things you've been doing under our annual disbursement, that this could grow and should grow, but it's gonna cost this.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea that we can come to you and say, would the process be, I apologize, the process be that we might come to you first and say, look, we wanna put together this program. Our estimated cost for it is gonna be this, to kind of get a sense as to whether, because I'm terrified of spending the money and then not getting reimbursed.
You'd be welcome to do that. It's not our typical process, but I think the mandate is
Strange.
very, well, no, I think the mandate is very short and pretty clear. But if it would help you and give you the confidence, you could ask us if we would in the near future approve a request for such and such, and we could tell you yes or no.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're looking forward to hearing more on what you do with all this, so thank you.
I think there's a link in there to the video that we just
Okay.
put forward, and it is,
Provide
it's
the link to
phenomenal.
the
I know your
YouTube
letter.
channel.
Your letter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
believe
video.
that they're,
We did a 5-part series with the Needham channel and we
Oh,
had
cool.
that kickoff event, so. I think it's gonna be a great way for our Needham residents to hear about what we do for the community.
Great.
It might not be Emmy worthy, but it was darn good.
All right.
It's
It's Kathy, right?
Kathy with the
Kathy
C.
and I want to, and Laura,
Laura.
but I missed you.
Yeah.
Deb,
Jacob.
Jacob, thank you.
Notice.
Okay, that's the same question.
Deb Jacob.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
again. This
having
has
us.
been incredibly helpful.
Thank you guys. What do you do?
We have time, some of us.
So moving right along with nothing else, because I have a hard stop in about 20 minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes. As Julia circulated them.
Second?
Were you,
I missed the last.
you guys missed the last one, so
Oh, I shouldn't approve them.
or maybe you shouldn't second the motion.
Okay. Something like great.
Your
Aye.
favor.
Okay. So we've approved the minutes from the prior meeting. Now we get to the invoices.
And for the minutes, Patricia, it's Patricia, correct?
Yes.
So I came in late. Your last name?
F as in friend.
Yeah.
A-L. C-A-O.
Falcon.
No,
Falco
Falco.
as in Edie Falco, but.
F-A-L-C-O?
C-A-O.
A-O.
it's clearly not worthy of this chairmanship because I broke your stamp.
All right, thank you. And you used to be on the commission.
I was elected 2008 to 2011 specifically
Cool,
for the tercentennial to grow these funds.
cool. Welcome back.
Thank you. I left my card for people.
Oh,
Great.
thanks.
Oh, thanks, Patricia.
You know, you can call Eddie anytime, right?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She can confirm that we used to bring those binders every meeting.
Oh, I remember the binders.
A lot of,
We have them. We do have it, Patricia. Have no fear.
Public should be able to have access to those. You can pull the privacy, but you know.
all right, so we just approved the minutes. Good. Next.
It's a lot of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So get your signature on.
Union revitalization trust fund.
Whoa, is that the stack?
Yes.
Dang.
Mhm.
I mean, if the binders haven't been destroyed, you could still bring them while you're in the process of this other project of getting them in an E format.
Do you-
I have them in the E format. That's,
Right, and what I'm saying is, they could be open to the public here during your meetings. So you can supervise what they look at or not. And you can be aware that historically,
yeah.
whatever is in them,
Making sure.
nothing was redacted. Now that we have slightly different privacy awareness in this. folder, they want to do things differently, but just. This situation with VBAC is a classic example of a trust fund that is not a scholarship and is not a library fund.
Mhm.
And there are a variety of those in each of the binders.
Mhm. Yeah, and is it, I mean, I guess you may remember the recipients. Like with the DVAC, there's a trust fund and it goes specifically to the DVAC, so there's only one beneficiary, correct? Like those funds wouldn't go to multiple committees or multiple organizations within Needham? Is it just one?
You're Pedro Often.
My name? I mean, you wanna know what my name is? Andrew Hopkin.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can tell my hearing is going. No longer a spring chicken. Please, Andrew.
Hopkin, Hopkin.
Thank you, sir. If you put the binders in front of me, I can answer your questions, but I don't carry them around in my head.
Understood,
And the
okay,
fact that they're not even accessible to public
it's fine,
is
it's fine.
shocking to me.
No, we haven't said they're not accessible to the public. I'm just, and I'll speak only for myself, saying I want to know what the rules are.
Well,
That's
it's okay.
all.
Maureen Callahan has been trying for 3 months to get access and has been unable. So that's why she's put herself on the
Okay.
agenda. So I assume they're not accessible since she's been trying for 3 months and she is the
Have
Needham
any of
public.
you, have any of the other commissioners heard of that request
No,
for more?
No, she mentioned it to me and then that's why,
Yeah.
you know, I brought it up for her to come here.
Now, do you know, does this show which fund these are coming from? Library?
I would like to go on record to say that it's shocking to me that the binders aren't immediately available to the public. Either at all times under supervision of the clerk's office or the treasurer's office, or at a minimum, here at this open access public meeting.
I'm not certain that that's,
Okay, well,
I'm
Maureen
not
Callahan
certain.
has been trying to get
I'm not
access.
certain that when you said that they are not accessible to the public at the treasurer's office, I'm not certain that that's correct. I'd like
Please
to,
ask Diane Ryan, because Maureen
I'd
has
like to-
gone to her to
yes.
try to
Okay.
get them and has been unable to.
I will work with Diane to understand what the rules are.
Right, but I'm just saying to you, your statement is in error, sir. Respectfully.
My statement respectfully was that I'm not certain. That is my statement.
My statement is that I'm certain they are not available because I know that Ms. Callahan has been trying for 3 months to obtain and has been unsuccessful. Thank you for putting that in the record.
I think there's multiples within that,
Multiples meaning,
In here?
like
Oh,
all
in
the,
the-
yeah,
Got it.
like there are,
we've got sign, all, we're all,
not duplicates, there's just a lot.
exactly.
This is for the library. All of these been for the library, do you know?
No,
No, there was
NCR,
NCR, yeah,
Okay.
There's one for the new revitalization.
this is library.
We worked with Paul Good for many years with very good results.
Oh, no.
So good.
You can multitask and you don't mind it being a matter of public record. How was your trip?
Oh, great. Yeah, no.
How long
very-
you were away
I was
for?
gone for 8 weeks. I've never done anything like that before. So it was really neat experience.
And that was, you went by yourself?
Me and my fiance actually was also there. She'd been there before. And yeah, we were just like in the heart of the jungle in Gabon, Africa.
Touring per se?
No,
or
we
just
were
living?
in the same place, kind of just immersed in this kind of culture and this kind of indigenous tradition that we learned a lot about. It was
And
really neat.
what was the order of operation? How did you learn about it, or what made you want to learn about it, or what?
So this is, she kind of found it through her own, her heritage is from the DR, Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And then there's like an African ethnicity, an indigenous, like Caribbean ethnicity. So this is part of her ancestry, like this is part of Africa. And so she has gone back to kind of learn about her ancestry, but there's just some really cool culture and tradition in that part of Africa that like I was also very interested in learning about.
What was something like?
What did I
What
learn?
was something unexpectedly interesting, or? I mean,
I
you're
would
your
say-
fiance, so you knew something. but
Yeah.
You must have been surprised. by
No, it's a
something.
very beautiful culture and it's kind of there, it's a version of, it's like a spiritual tradition. So it's not a religion, but it's just kind of a different approach to life and studying life. So what I would say I learned was just how applicable like these very kind of ancient indigenous cultures and traditions like applies to modern day society. And just like, wow, like we've really, like our society has developed and modernized and
Okay, so.
but like the basics of just like living and taking care of yourself and being happy, like it doesn't change. So it was kind of a
Comforting
going
in a
back
way,
to the
right?
basics. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love it.
My son is reading, he's in 8th grade, he's reading Fahrenheit 451.
Mm.
I've never read it, but he told me, he would love this book. So I went on Wikipedia and read a quick summary of it. And like, basically what you're always telling me about how when my friends and I get together, we're all looking at our phones, knowing something to each other. It's like spot on. It's like if he's learned one thing from reading that book.
Don't be
I think he's
on your
figured it
phone.
out.
Yeah. Very good. I did it.
How long did
Shift
you take that to get there?
family there, or is it just heritage?
Yeah, just heritage. It takes a while. It's connected through Paris. So it takes 7 hours to Paris and then another 7 hours to,
Oh, less than I thought, I
Yeah.
imagine.
yeah.
Even more.
We're getting there.
Felt good to come back and take a warm shower. Bucket showers for 2 months.
Really? You were really,
It wasn't glamping.
Right. They have built some facilities like for foreigners that kind of come in. They've developed a little bit of a program, but it wasn't like any luxury by any means.
back to the agenda. for
Yeah,
a
back
second.
to,
Yes.
I would like, typically every year in the November meetings when we review the investment policy statement. I'd like to give it a more detailed reread before we do that, so I'd like to push that off to next.
Okay.
Also slightly
So
time
do you
constrained.
all
today.
have something? So
Hmm,
here's.
okay, so we can review this before.
Compilation
Thank you.
that reflects the December 24.
Right.
adjustment. Where does this live? Like, should I send you the electronic version? Yes. Okay.
I think though, maybe you should own, or whoever is at the time the secretary. Well, I guess that would be,
I'll send the electronic version to
yeah,
everyone.
secretary should own that and be in charge of keeping versions.
The investment policy?
And the stand. And the stamp,
Like rubber bands.
it is.
There's quite a lot of paper, for two rubber bands.
Yeah,
Um,
all right,
Anything-
we'll review this in December.
yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Our December meeting, just to recap, is at a slightly different time.
Okay, what is it?
It's a 5 p.m. start.
Yeah, on the 22nd.
Monday, so it's Monday, the 22nd.
Yeah.
Um.
Do we wanna set the next meeting? as well?
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest January. Continue to prefer Mondays pretty well, and
So Martin Luther King Day Jr. is the 19th, right?
so yeah, so not that.
So we're looking at the 12th or the 26th?
So the 26th works for me.
Seems me. Does it work for you?
It does, at 4:30.
On 26, 4:30.
Right.
Does that work for you? Or maybe it won't have to work for you?
Probably has to work for me. See.
All right, well, that'll be our tentative.
Okay.
In that case, any other business before we adjourn? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Moved.
Second, third,
Okay, vote.
Yeah.
Ayes have it, we're adjourned.
5:33.